It's a very intuitive, creative question, and probably a hard question sometimes. I like to go with, I feel like this is a good idea. I like the idea. I'm going to go with it, and maybe at least maybe have it written on paper, a full script or something in that stage. But I'm learning to trust my instincts a lot more. Hi, I'm Daniel Turres, the director and writer producer of Fresh Meat, and you can find me at Daniel.Turres on Instagram. And you are watching and listening to Two Geeks Talking.
Good morning, afternoon, evening, everyone. Two Geeks Talking is an entertainment industry interview show where we interview the creative people from the comic, film, TV, movie, and video game industries. And of course, I'm your host, Kurt Sasso. We're joined today by a Canadian horror icon. He is an award-winning director. He is an amazing person that has created some of the most goriest horror films I have seen in southwestern Ontario. You know his work from Fresh Meat, which has won numerous awards currently, and of course, Here for Blood, among others he has done in the past as well too. We're joined by the ever-talented Daniel Turres. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me, Kurt.
It's good having you here. We met up surprisingly at a Chatham-Kent film meetup, which is amazing to see in the local community here. I've known your work in the past. I've seen you on the Instagrams and socials and all that other stuff here, but for those that don't know anything about yourself as a creative person, tell us who you are and what you're bringing to Two Geeks Talking today.
Sure. Well, I'm hoping that we have the opportunity just to talk about some good movies, new movies coming out, what's happening on the independent film schedule and film world. I just love talking about local film as well because there's something about working with close friends and families within the area and making local films happen.
Yeah, for sure. I recently had a past guest on here that you know well, Pat and Meg Whalen, of course, from Deep Southwest, the amazing musical band from Canada here. And they mentioned about you directing episodes, if not most, of Deep Southwest itself. I talk about that process there from horror to comedy. It's a pretty big jump sometimes.
Yeah, it can be. I do definitely have a passion towards comedy films. I'm in the horror field because of its creativity and it's also marketability on the film scene at the moment. But comedy is obviously like a dream to do, and this opportunity came up, and I no longer had the could rely on blood and guts to carry it over. So it was a cool opportunity to challenge myself on like how do I direct comedy. And thankfully, not only did the Megan and Pat work on an incredible script and series, they knew their characters so well, and they knew what made them funny and what made people laugh. That I really was just able to focus on what's the simplest way to convey that. So I didn't have to worry about me making up the punchlines. I just had to figure out how to deliver it and capture it. So that was a really fun, cool experience. I was actually even at the finale episode. They let me co-guest write
Oh,
the series finale just because we wanted to make sure that it ended off with some type of like cool cliffhanger and a lot of cool, really interesting imagery. And they really wanted to go the extra mile, which motivated me as well to let's see how far we can go with the show. And I think if you give the show a chance and take a look at it, you'll be pretty impressed what can be done when you have everybody on every aspect of that production just passionate enough to like deliver.
yeah. That's the best part about independent film and working with a team of people. Like your common goal is to get the film or get the series done. And you have a variety of different skill sets, whether you're a director or writer, if you have good cinematographer, DIT, etc. It's just something about we're doing a weekend, we're getting together, we're banging out the script, and the final result is hopefully at the film festival circuits there, or in even better distribution.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I guess what we're all there for is always for there's always an invisible audience that we're making this for. That audience we want to reach. We're always hearing their reviews and their laughter in our minds while we're working on this. And I think everybody on all departments are like, "Oh, I hope, we do the best and they deliver their best during whatever part of the production they're into." I always think about in the moment this is going to be for someone's first time watching this film. Maybe might be their first time watching a horror film or a first time watching a comedy show like this, because that's a huge opportunity. You may think that everything's been done, but it's always new to somebody out there.
When you look back at your work, what's the moment that feels like it was a real turning point?
Oh, that's a really good question about that. I think a major turning point was I always thought I would just be one thing as like I'm just gonna be a movie director. After I finished Here for Blood, as a solely as a director on that one. I had the opportunity to write and direct Fresh Meat itself. So that was a big turning point where like stepping away from just directing a feature, like developing it from the story and building it piece by piece all the way through. So that was a major turning point. And I think even from there, I'm feeling that I have more opportunities within what I can do on the in film. Like I'm finding I'm enjoying production design. I'm enjoying acting even. It's a great field to just like dabble and keep pushing to see where the limits are.
And it's also amazing because you never know about these skill sets unless you've actually done it, or you're thrown into it for that matter.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Is there part of that creative process that outsiders never see but probably matters the most to the end results?
Yeah, this one's might not be that fun, especially as a creative. Like all I want to do is just do the creative portions of it. I want to get in there. I want to work with the actors. I want to get the special effects, and I want to make all that stuff. But the end times as an independent producer, especially working with very limited
Mm.
resources, I say this all the time. My last film, Fresh Meat, was more like 80% emails. And it's just making sure all your ducks are in order, paperwork's going, you're getting grants, you're making partnerships. And it's all this kind of like, essential paperwork that, a major studio would probably have a whole department and team. But like as an independent director, producer, you're like, well, the only person that's going to get this done is myself.
Mm.
So that part is a big eye opener.
Mm.
It also gives me perspective on what's the next project, to know like maybe I need to reconsider if I can afford an alien invasion, and maybe just keep it in an isolated one location because it might reduce the amount of emails I have to do.
Not to mention permits and all that other stuff and extras.
Yeah,
And
everything matters, everything counts,
yeah.
and it's just it can be a behemoth to do, especially for a feature production.
Well, one of the things that usually is the hardest is once you get a film made, what's the end goal? And usually people say distribution, but even that's a challenging aspect too.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Even distribution is there's more than just like one region too. You have to be distributing, especially for like say a horror film, which is what I like to be a part of. It has more of an international
Mm.
appeal. So those are all different types of deliverables and negotiations through all different sources of countries and everything. And then I'll be honest with you. I think distribution is constantly shifting, like just as fast as technology is.
Mm.
Theaters and streamings are fluctuating all the time, so it's like it's not as it was maybe like back in the 80s, 90s, or earlier 70s. I feel like I'm constantly catching up when I'm talking to sales agents and distributors. I think it's one thing, and all of a sudden next week, oh look, people want to watch things vertically on their phone now, so you have to make sure it's all vertical. I'm like, oh, okay, well that's great.
Great, I get to re-edit this entire thing. Perfect.
Yeah,
Just what I want to do.
no, it happens. I guess one to add to that, sales agencies and distribution companies, they're constantly looking for like literally the flavor of the week.
Mm.
Being like, oh, everyone loves this type of movie now. We're looking for this one. And then by the time maybe you have a script or whatever passion you're working for, it might be already outdated. So it's like we're constantly playing catch up. So I like to, focus more on like, what, I'm gonna focus on the projects that I want to do. I think in the end result, if I want to do this, I feel like there's a shared community that wants to
Mm.
see it, and no one else is going to be as eager and passionate behind putting it out there and making sure it gets to the eyes and it needs to be shown in front of.
The social media promotion, going on shows like this to promote it after the fact or even during an actual, say, film circuit run, you're constantly pushing what you want to promote out. It can be tiring, but it's also exhilarating getting a fresh set of eyes on a new film that they maybe had never known about.
No, exactly, exactly. That's another the engagement on what social media can provide is instrumental. I'm amazed by how passionate the fan base is. When I was working on Fresh Meat, and I had fans from Here for Blood messaging me on my Facebook and my Instagram, and sometimes they would know some of the creative decisions we made like within a few days and be like, "Oh, I saw that you casted this person. That's really cool." And I'm like, "Oh my god." When the people are out there and they're passionate about who they're following, you're like under a microscope. I'm very thankful for those fans because they very encourage me. If anything, I get questions from my distributors or sales or executive producers like, "When's the movie coming out? When's the movie coming out?" And then I'll have messages from like a handful of fans being like, "When's the movie coming out?" Like just as to me, they feel like executive producers the way that they ask me, like, "I'm waiting to see this. I need to see this cut. I got to see it in theaters." That's fairly new for me since after Here for Blood. It's kind of cool to see that there's people out there really excited to see what comes.
I find that interesting because you're still kind of going into the film festival circuit, at least based on what I've seen through social
Yep.
media. You're still looking for distribution, I believe, if that's correct as
We have a sales agency,
well.
and
Okay,
they actually, on my end, they have been a huge support. We've been securing a lot of international
nice.
sales for our distribution. So the film circuit right now is, I think, it's going to have a major opportunity with our fans just to be like, this movie deserves to be seen in theaters.
Yeah,
And the festival itself, with 82 films, by the way, the festival that we're speaking of is FrightFest, London, England, this month. Out of 82 films, they're playing Fresh Meat twice there, primetime Saturday, closing gala on Monday, which is a huge honor. They were huge fans of Here for Blood and highly supportive. And I was really grateful how like excited they were for Fresh Meat, the programmers and organizers. And now what I'm hoping for from this, what's to come, is getting that verbal response from real people and real reviewers that are watching this film to like really kick it in gear that like, oh, you know what, we deserve to actually have a longer theatrical release
nice.
than we already have right now. So that's kind of, I think, where we're at with the festivals. I'm not too concerned about sales for other distribution
Sure.
companies. We're already in negotiations with them. It's just a matter of like, let's show them the real kick and value we got with a hungry fan base.
Nice. That's amazing. When you're trying to pin down an idea, how do you know an idea is strong enough to pursue versus something you should just let go of quickly?
Sure, that's actually, yeah, that's a very intuitive, creative question, and probably a hard question sometimes, especially when you're first starting. I think one of the hardest ones is when you're like, oh, should I even start the thing and write it out or something? And then sometimes that can just kill your momentum. I like to go with, I feel like this is a good idea. I like the idea. I'm going to go with it, and maybe at least maybe have it written on paper, a full script or something in that stage. And for sure enough, maybe like, once you have it written down, the script will detail like, yeah, this is like a mammoth of a thing, or maybe it's not right for the marketing of it.
Hmm.
But I'm learning to trust my instincts a lot more on what the project is. For example, Fresh Meat, this was funny. My partner reminded me what the origins of Fresh Meat was. I was writing a Mortal Kombat style, like fighting movie of like over the top crazy app.
Sure.
Like I wanted to go with like kung fu and get stunt people wearing crazy ass costumes and just going at it. And there was a scene in there, just one scene, like a page where like the character walks out of a prison. One of the partners here in Chatham said, "Oh, there's a local jail here. You can use that for that one scene." I was like, "Okay, cool." And I saw the jail, and I'm like, what am I doing? Like, this is incredible. This is the one location production. They're willing to just give it to me for like next to nothing to like use this.
Yeah.
So I'm like, scrap that. What's a fun film? I've always wanted to do a slasher film.
Nice.
And that kind of, if I recall, the first draft of that script is pretty bang on to what it ended up being at the end.
Oh,
Obviously,
wow.
it went through its changes, but the end result is all there. And like I think that's where it's like, take advantage of those rare opportunities, because like as a screenwriter and director, sometimes you write this place and location without hoping to get the place you want. In this case, I was able to like integrate a real abandoned 18th century prison as the central location of this script, and it just, everything worked out from that point.
And we were in there for our own film Long Ride Home when we were doing our production for our pilot. Just had a presence. A set like that is sometimes the third character.
Oh yeah, that's exactly it. It's a character on itself. We've both been in there. It's a little bit of a labyrinth. There's some staircases. We have to go up to go down and go down to go up. It's tight. It's claustrophobic. It's definitely not made to be for a film production
Right.
or comfort. It is really is a grueling. You don't want to be there out of like for, you just don't want to be there. Um, but I'll say from a filming standpoint, I mean, where better you could film every single angle. It's literally an abandoned prison with decay in it. So our
Mhm.
our production design was able just to like accentuate it with atmosphere without having to like build a set from the ground up. And it was, yeah, it was definitely its own character. I like watching Fresh Meat with fresh eyes from people that have never visited the place or know the movie. They, from their perspective, they see it as this labyrinth and large scale maze
Yeah.
of like prison cells everywhere. And in my mind, I could still see like, oh, we used this one particular cell from three different angles and lit it up differently. And and I love that. I love creative filmmaking, and I'm always looking forward to like, how can we, what can we capture in frame and convince people the magic is real.
Mm. That can be the hardest part, whether if your visual effects go off properly, obviously with Fresh Meat. I don't know. How many buckets or gallons of blood did you happen to use in the entire thing? Was there like an active tally?
I keep forgetting it because it's so much. I want to say it's like 60. It was a lot. Thankfully, They have a lot of drains in a prison, so we pressure washed as much as we could. There are sometimes the odd tour of that area. We might do something during the Halloween again
Mm.
to get people out there. You will probably still see mostly up on the ceilings or in the hard to reach places where the blood hits. And
Oh.
the reason why is because the Butcher Shop Effects Studio.
Mm.
When I got the first time to work with them on Here for Blood, and I remember the first day we decapitated one special effect and the blood hit like a volcano to the ceiling. I was like, this is what I want to do. This is in my mind, I felt it was gonna be more realistic, more like gruesome, but like they add this like operatic artistic aesthetic to their effects. The way these guys work is like you want to do this, Daniel? We're willing to go the extra mile and throw in some extra like goodness in there. And I'm like, yeah, if you yeah, go for it. And I love working with them. They are rock stars in the show. They're absolute sweethearts, which makes them kind of deranged because like you meet them and they're super nice people and they're holding like a decapitated head trying to like stuff an eyeball in there. And so it's like it's a cool juxtaposition of what the creativity does. I'm so proud of them as well for the Blood in the Snow Film Festival.
Mm.
It was a truly deserved award for the best special effects because this movie, Fresh Meat, it's like 90% practical with like real feeling, and the cast and crew were able to react to like genuinely terrifying yet fun, horrific props that they delivered.
Because you've taken on so many roles as a director, producer, and everything along that line, when you're at your best, what kind of problem are you actually solving for the audience?
In the moment when you're in production and working with your departments, it's time management to, how am I going to convey information towards the audience and to ourselves? So you get hit with some things where like, does this detail matter? And I have to, time's running, money's burning. Does that detail matter? Sometimes I think about it being like maybe there's a scene where there's like a glass of water that's inconsistent from the next shot. And I'm like, people are gonna probably leave the movie theater after thinking about that really creepy, scary thing that happened and forget about that little bit. So it's about like where the focus is, and I'm always trying to think where the audience focus is. And the fun part I like to try to think is like, where's their focus on the second watch as well? That's always like a bonus challenge. I love rewatching movies, being like, oh, they set it up over here, or there's something in the background there. So that's kind of always a fun mini challenge to do. But it's really trying to convey focus and trying to make sure your audience isn't confused, and
Mm.
they're smarter. Audiences are that's something I'm always fighting with, even when I'm writing first drafts. I feel like I have to write every single story beat
Yeah.
because the audience needs to understand, but the audience can just pick up visually and understand it completely. And I think of myself, totally capable of following the story. So that balance. I'm stuck with all the cool props. I can't get rid of them, and they're like overflowing in my attic space.
Halloween must be a blast, though.
Yeah, it is actually. I've used some of them for Halloween costumes here and there, but like I don't want to keep taking them out because I feel like they're gonna deserve some type of place to be remembered. My wife, she sculpted all the masks for
Oh,
our
wow.
first film, Here for Blood. Whitney Archer, hi Whitney. Yeah, she designed those slashers, and we just to circle back to I guess a little back. Here for Blood is it's a true passion project. We didn't want to do like just black outfits and just like generic Halloween
Sure.
masks. We wanted to make sure everything was built from the ground up, and so she was a huge instrumental help for like designing those characters and
Nice.
hand making each of those masks. And I think we get so many compliments from our fan base just on those masks alone. So and I get to keep them within my special attic space right now. I'd love to display them, but they're kind of freaky. So down the road when I have a basement, it might be nice to put it down there.
Oh, that's amazing. Like, it's so incredible because the horror genre itself gets completely misunderstood. Why do you think people misunderstand the horror genre?
I think sometimes it's taken under one umbrella. When you hear the word horror, they probably have like maybe a limited perspective of what that horror is. Maybe it's only slasher and gore. But the beauty about horror is that every single genre that's outside of horror can also exist within it. I found myself watching so many horror movies back when I was younger, thinking like, oh, this movie is going to be just like that one. And then sure enough, most times some of the best ones they subvert expectations and they go places you don't go. So, yes, you can hear about there's horror comedies and horror dramas and horror action films. Like the beauty of it all is like I like to go into every horror film with zero expectations of how it's going to end because more often than not, if it's really done well, then you're literally in it for the ride. And for sure, there's definitely like tiers of like how what level of horror you might want to digest into
Mm,
yourself. I can't even handle sometimes the freakiest of like ghost stories
mm,
or even like absurd gore, which is odd for myself since even fresh meat. We had some scenes there where it was really gory, and I don't know in my mind I thought it'd be funny, but the end result was that like it was hard to watch as I was directing the film. So I get it. I get that for sure. But it's a spectrum.
mm,
Horror films have such an opportunity to work on every genre, and I think as a writer, it kinda gives me, like, a sense of safety being like, "I'm gonna try to, do some funny stuff here or try to do some dramatic parts here," because at least I feel like I have the safety of, like, the horror world will,
sure.
like, still be able to be interesting and pull you in, and it's a great, like, sandbox and playground to, like, test things out.
If you had to double down on one thing for next year, what would you choose and why?
Double down for next year?
Hmm.
I would like to kind of work on my producing level skills. I've been producing a lot under the pressure of getting something done. I think I was leaning more towards my creative side, so that's something I want to like be more experienced and like work with a different level of quality of studios with this. That's where I want to be. I want to basically exercise my skills as a producer to kind of be just as equal to my directing skills.
Is there something that you need to work on specifically in
Oh, for
terms of?
sure. Yeah, my mind's running a mile a minute. So I've been training myself to actually like, take my time to think more. I find I do well improvising and pivoting
Sure.
and making decisions, but then I kind of, sometimes I don't have to put that much on myself to do if it does, just like any good pre-production
Mm,
and anything you go to, like try to solve most of your potential issues to come or backup plans. So it definitely is a time management organizational thing. I
sure.
think it's just I feel for my friends and family about this. I'm constantly going like, "Oh, what about this idea?" And it goes here, it goes here, it goes here. And as exciting as it is, I just need to like reel it back, be in the present, allow my creativity and my organizational brain to kind of like work together rather than play catch up.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes the shiny things get in the way.
Sure, for sure. Like I want to get to that shot and do that really cool scene, but like there's let's minimize the steps to get there.
Sure. What's a question people rarely ask you that would actually get to the heart of who you are as a creator?
You weren't kidding. These do get introspective.
Oh, I'm not, these aren't the introspective ones.
Oh, okay. Cool. All right. I ever get asked like, how do you know it's a good idea to go with? And to be honest, it's like I don't know if it's a good idea, and I don't know if it's going to work. I get a lot of questions like, "Oh, wow, you must have known what you were doing. You must have had this. You must have had that." It's like, to be honest, most of the times, I don't have as much as people think. What I do is just try to follow through and go with it rather than like if I fought and hold myself back by like, is this a good idea? Should we film this? Should we try for that? Time might go by and you never could take the chance to do it. So I wish people would just, be less worried about I just don't know if this idea is gonna be good, if it should translate on film. Do it. Just go for it. If it's cringe and it sucks, then the best thing you learn from it is that, oh, you know what? I could have done this better.
Mm,
And I've been going through that with a long career. When I was 18, we were very ambitious and we made a feature film in London called Terry's Car Gets Stolen. And there's a lot of things I learned from there. I went to film school after and I remember like feeling like I was knocking my head after, like, oh my God, crossing the X's or something, whatever. But you know what? I'm proud that we did it. And then you look back, it's like, it's not as bad as maybe your lens of was back then.
mhm,
But that's the only way to go is like nothing's perfect. You don't have enough, you'll never have enough resources. You'll never be the right time.
mhm.
There'll always be an excuse. And maybe not everyone will like, maybe no one will like it. Just but go do it.
Yeah,
That's it. That's kind of that's something I always kind of like try to encourage people.
nice. Everyone has one person that inspired them on their path to where they are today. Who was that for you?
Oh man. Um I come from a very creative family. I'm gonna say there's a specific individual, my dad's brother, my uncle Rodrigo. I, he was always an inspiration on the creativity. When I used to read his sketchbooks like they were like novels or dictionaries or everything, like just to see what you can do with pen and ink and marker.
Mm,
He's an incredible art director, illustrator, every capacity of art he can do, animator. And I got to see him like grow up as well. He was here in Canada, and just going through the process of learning and teaching himself, and then also just taking risks within his artwork. And that's always been an inspiration for myself. I always think of him when I'm getting ready to do something creative.
From a professional standpoint, you are a successful director and producer of your own films, from Fresh Meat to everything else that you've done with your company there, which is listed below in the lower thirds. So, from a professional standpoint, you are successful. Do you consider yourself personally successful?
I do. It's the difference is like I think I have this sense of knowledge that I have reached certain levels of success, but there's a emotionally though I don't technically I feel it, I guess. I always have to, kind of recognize like, look how far you've come, look how far you've accomplished. Because every time I feel like I've hit a certain bar, my emotional sense of self is always like, well, I could be doing better. I could be doing the next thing. I should be somewhere else. That's again, I guess, is where the heart and the mind are kind of like still at odds in that sense. But I do recognize that everything that's been done and these accomplishments, they exist, they're real, incredibly meaningful. I just need to figure out how to, you know, be present and not worry about like the next big thing to accomplish, because like it is a lot. It has been a lot, and I'm really proud of everything. I would not take away anything. Even the hardest parts of working on these things, I wouldn't have taken away, because I feel like it's only making myself as a better professional, a better creative, and hopefully even a better person.
The reverse of success is failure. How do you deal with your failures?
How do I deal with my failures? That's a big important part of life. Anything that's going to hit you hard, and I think it's about how you react to it. There were moments during any type of big risks or like trying to make something bigger than what yourself is. It can be heavy and it can be hard. You could stay down and just, let it envelop you and give up. There's just something inherent that I don't know how to do that. I feel like I am still responsible to like finish what I started, accomplish that goal that I had, honor the dream of that younger version of myself that was excited to do and make these things happen. So there's still like some type of accountability in that sense. And when you face failures, they can be incredibly transformative. I find the only way to do it is just take one step at a time, solve the situation you need to be in, and keep pushing forward. And more often than not, those failures will actually mold you into something you had no idea you'd become, because you're only focused on, making the best of the out of the worst. So there's no regrets to anything that was difficult to make something, because I think, if anything, I finally understand what it means to suffer for your art.
Hmm.
Like if it really mattered and if it really is important to you, it's only up to the individual, that person, or that team to like get it through the finish line, just no matter how hard it can get.
The younger generation is looking at your work and they're becoming inspired to be creative in their own way, whether it's as a director, writer, whatever the case may be. Maybe you're inspiring them down that path. How can they inspire the generation that follows them?
Honestly, I'm getting inspired by the younger generation itself. There's so many. I mean, on the independent horror film, you're seeing all these like first time directors that are absolutely killing it on the box office of the market. But for myself, I've always been probably more inspired by like what might come across as classical, your old school, legendary golden age directors and producers. I used to read every single book, the back of the DVDs, every bit of like special features you could find. But I guess now in this day and age, I'm noticing that there's so much encouragement from the inspiration of other filmmakers, independents or non, that are just communicating on the social platforms, being very proactive to each other and encouraging. So I'm grateful for that. I'm finding like, I'm getting really great advice from like, oh, look at what these younger people are doing with limited budgets and resources. They're still like making these high quality things, and there's so much to always learn. I
Hmm.
think we just listening and learning from each other is knowledge is power.
Nice. Like that. Last question is this before we wrap up and ask you where we can find you and how we can support you and all that other fun stuff there. And it is the following: if your life was a movie, what would its title be? And what would its soundtrack be?
Cool. Oh man, if my life was a movie, what would it be? It would definitely be some kind of maybe in like, have you ever seen Uncut Gems?
Oh, yeah, yeah, with the
Yeah,
Sandler, yeah.
so he's like, he's got and for me, my instead of having like a anxiety inducing like love for gambling, it's the same thing but towards film. And I'm like, I just there's the amount of times I said I'm never going to make a movie, and my wife knew like you're going to end up making another movie, and I'm just chasing it again. Every day working for yourself, you have to make every day count. Every day needs to propel what's to come. So it's definitely going to be spinning and spiraling. And if I could pick any type of music for it that could hit that type of I basically have a playlist of songs that hit that for me. It's mostly 80s, mostly George Michael, and I do listen to a lot of Peter Gabriel. Like I feel like there's like this whimsical rock to it. I think it's kind of cool. So it's not hardcore, but it's like it's fast paced and it's enjoyable and sometimes goofy and silly. So that kind of I think encapsulates my life. I don't. And what would it be called? You asked.
Yeah, yes. Title.
Oh, uh, director without a cause.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
There's no wrong answer for those for this that
appreciate
last
that. Oh,
question,
good.
so it works out well. Well, Daniel, I do hate to say it, but that ends this particular episode of Two Geeks Talking. I want to thank you so much for being on the show.
No, thank you for having me. It was a real pleasure. And from one geek to another, keep geeking out.
Well, before we let you go, where can we find you? How can we support you? And anything else you'd like to promote?
Sure. I am very active on my Daniel.Turres on Instagram. We'll actually be doing a in-depth behind the scenes journey to where Fresh Meat is now. So expect to see some upcoming social media presence from myself personally. We also have a Fresh Meat film account on Instagram as well. And wait to see a lot of our upcoming promotional materials coming from our sales partner, Studio Dome. They'll be doing a lot of promotions towards the upcoming release of the film and our festival circuit. The next major film circuit, which is our international premiere, is London, England at the end of this month. So if there's any Londoners that are watching this and you want to go see something on the more gruesome side of stuff, check out FrightFest. It's happening at Lancaster Square in London, England.
Awesome. I love it. Well, like I said, that ends this particular episode of Two Geeks Talking. You can, of course, find this interview and over 1,200 plus others because I've lost count on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/TGT Media. The podcast you can find by searching Two Geeks Talking. That's TWO Geeks Talking, wherever you get your podcasts. And as I say every week, everyone has a story to tell. It's up to me to help bring that out. Thanks for listening and watching on Two Geeks Talking.